Now to vote 2012 in the race for Indiana's next governor, Republican candidate Mike Pence wants to put a substantial chunk of change back in your pocket.
Pence is now proposing a major cut in the state income tax. Our TV6 reporter Norman Cox breaks down the numbers and has more on why Pence thinks the state can afford this. Norm?
This is probably Pence's biggest proposal to date. He earlier talked about reducing the corporate tax, but cutting the individual income tax would directly affect virtually all Hoosiers. Mike Pence says the time has come to cut taxes for every Hoosier. He told members of the Greater Indianapolis Chamber of Commerce this would produce job growth that would keep Indiana ahead of the pack.
Now, tax reform should focus on lowering rates for everyone. Tax reform should make the code flatter, fairer, simpler. Tax reform should be long-term, across the board, and it should be focused on growth.
Of course, Indiana already has a flat individual income tax, but Pence would make it lower by cutting it 10% in 2 phases over 2 years. Under Pence's plan, the tax would remain at 3.4% next year, fall to 3.23% in 2014, and to 3.06% in 2015. Pence says the state can afford it, giving the projected growth in the annual surplus while still increasing its cash reserves.
This tax cut will put $500 million directly back into Indiana's economy.
Pence says his plan would lower the average family of four's income tax bill by $228 a year. He would leave untouched the current law that provides for automatic taxpayer rebates when the surplus hits a certain point. So in any given year, Hoosiers could enjoy lower rates while still getting a rebate. The Pence plan would make it harder to increase funding for schools and other areas which have lost funding in recent years, but he indicated later to reporters that isn't his priority.
More money does not equal more results in education.
But Democratic candidate John Gregg says the cut could endanger education and other programs.
When we've cut public education and higher education by nearly $1 billion, that's a concern. When we are cutting a lot of our programs, I think that's a concern.
Is Pence's plan feasible? The head of the Indiana Fiscal Policy Institute, a nonpartisan group, says it is, barring an economic downturn. But John Ketzenberger says if there's another crash, the state would have to make adjustments. I'm Norman Cox, RTV6.